Welcome to the Decoding HVAC podcast, powered by Fujitsu Airstage, bringing you smart solutions, industry trends, and pro tips to keep you in the know. Well, Matt, let's get into a really big topic here. The industry is going through an A2L transition on refrigerant. Kind of give us a little bit of background of what that is and what that means.
Yeah, absolutely, Darren. HVAC industry is what seems to be, especially the last 10, 12 years, always going through a transition, whether that's from an efficiency standpoint, regulation, but most importantly, the main ingredient or component in a heating and air system is the refrigerant type. So the HVAC industry is not new to change, and everybody's kind of a little worried, but not to fret. So our industry is moving away from R-410A refrigerant, right? So, and just as a little history, the Montreal Protocol back in 1987 basically signed to say, hey, we need to start cutting out R-22 and we're moving to R-410A. And really that's the whole purpose of that is to reduce hydrofluorocarbons from the atmosphere, right? So we've already done this change about maybe 10, 11 years ago. So now we're into a new one. And really the A2L is just a different classification of refrigerants, right? And I won't go into too much of that detail now, but really the whole intention is moving to a new refrigerant that has a lower global warming potential, right? So we refer to that as GWP, and this refrigerant type has a much lower GWP score than R-410A.
But we're getting two different options with it. We're getting R-32 and R-454B, correct?
That is correct. That's correct. So two notions between those two refrigerants. One is a blend refrigerant and one is a single refrigerant. So big difference in the world today of availability, global economies. So we'll go into that here in just a second.
Sure. So with Fujitsu on our Ductless side, we opted to go with R-32, obviously higher efficiency, but I think most importantly, it's got a proven track record in Asia, Europe, as it's not a blend, it's a pure refrigerant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Being pure, when we went through this transition, we basically had a couple options to choose from. Do we completely re-engineer our systems, choose a different refrigerant type, or do we use a refrigerant that was tried and true, perform, not have to go and reinvent our efficiencies or re-engineer too much of our systems and actually keeping them the same size. And by doing that, we actually made them more efficient because we can pick up efficiency with the new R-32. So with that said, by choosing a single refrigerant R-32, not having to worry about too many different components to make up the other refrigerant R-454B, we were able to launch really swift and actually pick up some great performance out of our equipment.
Let's talk about timelines here because it is now 2025 as we record this. Walk us through what the guidelines say as far as equipment manufacture versus install, because there's a year gap in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act, everybody's referring it to the AIM Act. That's really what's mandating the switch to the refrigerant type. And with that transition period, it states that manufacturers could not produce the older refrigerant, the R-410A, past December 31st, 2024. So effective January 1, 2025, we had to produce the new refrigerant systems. However, we have a 1 year on the residential side. I'm going to make sure that's clear. On the residential side, there's a 1 year sell through. So if a distributor or a contractor or a homeowner has a system that's existing and they need to change out a component or they're changing out and they can find a 410A system, they can actually put that in. They can do that throughout the calendar year 2025. But January 1, 2026, they cannot install R-410A complete systems past that time.
Okay, Matt. So I'm a homeowner. Today, I buy a system. We're talking 2025, right? I buy a system, but it's a 410A system. In 2028, if there's any service that needs done, do I have to get a whole new system?
No, you can still, there's parts that are going to be available still because by regulation, manufacturers have to support the warranty that are on those systems. So we will have parts, and manufacturers will have parts to be able to help the contractors and the homeowners to service that equipment.
Thanks for clearing that up. All right, Matt, thanks for doing this with me today. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at decodinghvacpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.